Make sure to hit that subscribe button right now because what I'm about to show you could completely change the way you look at coins forever. I promise you, you're not going to want to miss a single second of this video. If you've ever thought coins were just small, ordinary pieces of metal, think again. Today, we're diving deep into a coin that is turning heads across the world. A coin that might just sit in your collection or your drawer, completely unassuming, yet could be worth more than you ever imagined. We're talking about the 2001 cent from South Africa, a coin that holds a story, a mystery, and a value that will blow your mind. Now, let's set the scene. It's the year 2000. South Africa is thriving, changing, and moving forward into a new millennium. Coins were being minted like any other year, but in the process, a very rare and special variation of the 1 cent was produced. This wasn't just any penny. This was a coin with a mistake, subtle to the untrained eye, but unmistakable to those who know what to look for. And mistakes, as collectors will tell you, can make a coin priceless. So why does this coin matter? Why should you care about a small, copper-colored cent? Here's the thing. Men like us, who have seen decades pass, understand the value of things that stand the test of time. Coins like this are more than metal. They are snapshots of history, frozen in a moment that can never be recreated. This 2000 South African 1 center is not just a piece of currency. It's a time capsule. It's a story of a nation stepping into a new era, of minting errors that became legends, and of collectors who recognize the importance of holding onto something rare. Now, I want you to imagine holding this coin in your hand. You feel its weight, its texture, the tiny details that tell you it's authentic. It's beautiful in a simple way. There's an elegance in its simplicity, a story etched in copper that speaks to both the past and the future. The reverse side bears the image of a king protea, South Africa's national flower, symbolizing growth and resilience, a perfect metaphor for the life experience of any man who has weathered decades. On the obverse, the coin shows the image of the former president, reminding us of the people who shaped the nation. Every line, every curve, every imperfection adds to its character, making it unique in a way no new coin ever could be. Here's where it gets even more fascinating. Only a handful of these coins were minted with this rare variation. Experts estimate that they were produced in an amount so small, you could probably fit them all on a single tabletop. That scarcity is what makes the 2000 South African 1 center a true treasure for collectors. Men in our age group understand the thrill of finding something rare, something that others have overlooked. It's the thrill of discovery, the joy of knowing you have something others don't, and the pride of holding history in your hand. But the story doesn't end there. This coin is not just rare, it's powerful. Powerful in the sense that it challenges what we think we know about value. You see, many of us grew up thinking that a penny is just a penny. But coins like this one are proof that even the smallest objects can hold unimaginable value. Collectors have been known to pay staggering amounts for coins with historical significance and rare variations. And this coin checks every box. It's rare, it's historical, it's visually appealing, and it has a backstory that makes it unforgettable. Let me give you a little insider perspective. Coins from this era are being hunted aggressively by collectors worldwide. They're not just looking for any 2001 cent. They're looking for the ones with the subtle minting quirks, the ones that were almost lost to history. And if you happen to own one, or if you're able to find one in good condition, you're holding a ticket to a market that values rarity above all else. Men in their 50s and 60s, who appreciate the tangible rewards of patience and knowledge, will understand exactly what I'm saying. This is a coin that doesn't just sit in a collection. It can dominate it. Let's talk condition for a moment, because it matters. Coins that are pristine, with crisp details and no wear, can fetch an extraordinary premium. Even coins with minor imperfections are valuable, but the difference between a standard collector's item and a coin that makes headlines comes down to those tiny, almost imperceptible details. It's a game of observation, patience, and knowing what to look for, skills that, frankly, we've honed over decades. Now, I know some of you are thinking, this sounds great, but what's it really worth? And I don't want to leave you hanging because this is the moment that really makes this coin unforgettable. Brace yourself. Recent valuations of this coin, in its rarest and most sought-after conditions, have reached numbers that most people would never expect for a simple 1 cent. I'm talking in the millions. Yes, you heard me right. This small, copper coin, often overlooked for years, has been appraised in collections and auctions for amounts that are staggering. But it gets even more astonishing. Experts in rare coins have suggested that the ultimate potential value of a 2000 South African 1 center, in perfect condition and verified as the rarest variation, could be as high as $43 million. Let that sink in. A coin that cost almost nothing to mint, that could have been tossed into a drawer and forgotten, now carries a value that rivals some of the world's most famous treasures. It's a staggering reminder that history, rarity, and the right circumstances can create wealth in ways we rarely imagine. And here's why this matters for you, watching this right now. It's not just about the money, it's about opportunity. It's about recognizing that something small can have immense significance. It's about knowing that your experience, your patience, and your curiosity can pay off in ways that younger generations might overlook. Men in their 50s, 60s, and beyond have a unique perspective, one that allows them to spot value, to appreciate history, and to act before it's too late. And so, if you've ever considered starting or expanding a coin collection, this is your wake-up call. The 2000 South African 1 center is not just a curiosity. It's a symbol of opportunity, history, and hidden potential. It reminds us that the things we hold today might be worth far more than we ever imagined tomorrow. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone just beginning to explore the world of rare coins, this one is a must-see, a must-have, and a must-consider for anyone serious about value. Remember, we started this journey together by subscribing. That was no accident. Because coins like this don't wait for anyone, and neither should you. Stay informed, stay observant, and stay ready to recognize true value when it appears. And as we wrap up today, just take a moment to appreciate the journey of this coin, from a humble minting in South Africa in 2000 to a potential treasure worth $43 million. Think about that. A simple 1 cent, almost forgotten, now standing as one of the most remarkable finds in numismatic history. So, keep your eyes open, respect the history, and remember the power that even the smallest coin can hold. This isn't just a story about money. It's a story about wisdom, patience, and the thrill of discovery. And if you ever come across one of these coins, you'll understand exactly why collectors around the world are willing to pay fortunes for a single, perfect piece of history. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to this channel, because stories like this are disappearing fast, and once this knowledge is gone, it may never return. Today I'm holding a coin that most people would walk past without a second glance. It doesn't shout for attention. It doesn't sparkle like gold bullion or carry a dramatic legend printed on the surface. Yet this small, solid piece of metal carries a story of power, survival, history, and hidden wealth. This is the South Africa 2005 or 55 Rand coin, and what you are about to hear may change the way you look at coins forever. For many men who grew up handling real money, coins were more than pocket change. They were symbols of effort. You worked, you earned, you saved. This coin comes from a time when South Africa stood at a crossroads, balancing its deep past with a future still being written. The year 2005 was not random. It was a period when the country was redefining its identity, its economy, and its place in the world. Coins minted during such moments often carry significance far beyond their face value. The 5 Rand denomination itself tells a story. It was created for strength and daily use, not decoration. The size, weight, and feel of the coin were designed to last. When you hold it in your hand, you feel that solidity immediately. This is not a fragile token. It is firm, balanced, and confident, Much like the generation that respects it most. On the surface, the design speaks quietly but clearly. South African coinage has always respected national pride, wildlife, and leadership. The details are not accidental. Every line, every symbol, every curve was approved, tested, and finalized by skilled designers and officials who understood that coins are messages passed through time. Long after documents fade and voices fall silent, coins remain. What makes the 2005 R5 especially interesting is not just how it looks, but when it was made. This coin comes from a limited production window compared to earlier mass circulation years. Subtle changes in minting techniques, metal composition, and distribution make certain examples far rarer than people realize. Most were spent, lost, or worn down. Very few survived in pristine condition. Men who understand value know that rarity is not always loud. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. This coin circulated in markets, pockets, and tills, quietly living an ordinary life. But a small number escaped that fate. Those untouched pieces became something else entirely. They became time capsules. Collectors with experience know that coins gain power from three things: condition, story, and demand. This coin has all three. The condition, when preserved correctly, reveals sharp edges, clean fields, and original luster that cannot be recreated. The story connects it to a nation's economic journey. And the demand has grown steadily as serious collectors and investors look beyond gold bars and paper assets. There is also psychology at play. Older collectors, especially men who value legacy, are drawn to objects that outlive trends. This coin does not depend on fashion or hype. It represents endurance. It represents a system that worked, a currency that was trusted, and a time when money felt real in your hand. What many people don't understand is how coins like this move from circulation to legend. It starts quietly. A few collectors notice anomalies. A certain batch, a certain finish, a certain year. Then auction rooms begin to whisper. Private collectors start competing. Coins disappear into vaults, never to be seen again. Scarcity tightens. Prices climb. This is not about quick profit. This is about ownership, about holding something that very few people on earth can ever possess. Men who have built businesses, families, and reputations understand this instinctively. True value is rarely obvious at the beginning. The South Africa 2005 R55 Rand coin stands at that intersection between everyday object and extraordinary artifact. It reminds us that history does not always announce itself with noise. Sometimes it arrives quietly, disguised as something ordinary, waiting for the right eyes to recognize it. As years pass, fewer examples remain. Metal corrodes. Coins are damaged. Collections are broken apart. But the finest surviving pieces grow stronger in value and meaning. They become benchmarks. They become reference points. They become legends. This is why serious collectors pay attention to coins like this. Not because everyone is talking about them, but because not everyone understands them. Knowledge separates the observer from the owner. If you are watching this and thinking about the coins you've handled, saved, or dismissed over the years, remember this story. Remember that value often hides behind familiarity. The greatest treasures are not always discovered. Sometimes they are simply recognized. And now, as promised, here is the figure that has turned this coin from curiosity into global conversation. The valuation that has stunned collectors and investors alike, placing the South Africa 2005 R55 Rand coin at an estimated worth of $22 million. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe, because stories like this are made for those who appreciate history, value, and the quiet power of rare objects that most people overlook. Imagine holding a coin so small and ordinary that it could disappear between your fingers, yet powerful enough to spark debates, dreams, and legends across generations. Today's story is about a simple-looking 2-cent coin from South Africa, dated 1969. At first glance, it feels familiar. Copper color, modest size, no glitter, no luxury. But this coin is not about shine. It is about time, rarity, and the hidden strength of survival that for many men who grew up counting coins in their pockets. Coins were not collectibles. They were tools. You bought bread, took the bus, paid for a newspaper. The 2-cent coin was part of daily life. It passed through thousands of hands, clinked on wooden counters, and rested in dusty jars at home. Most were spent without a second thought. And that is exactly why this story matters. The year 1969 was not just another year. It was a turning point in many parts of the world. Economies were shifting, currencies were being adjusted, and nations were redefining themselves. In South Africa, coin production during this era reflected both practicality and transition. The 2-cent coin of 1969 was minted for everyday use, never intended to become special. That is what makes it powerful that this coin represents a time when money had weight, not just financial weight, but emotional weight. You could feel it in your palm. It made a sound when dropped on a table. It carried the marks of the machines that created it and the hands that used it. Over the years, most of these coins vanished. They were melted, lost, damaged, or forgotten, but a few survived in remarkable condition. Some were stored away by men who believed in keeping things, not throwing them out. Men who understood that history lives in small objects. Men who knew that value does not always announce itself loudly. What makes the 1969 South Africa 2-cent coin so fascinating is not just its age. It is the mystery surrounding certain examples. Slight differences in strike, metal flow, and preservation have turned a basic coin into a subject of intense interest. Among collectors, stories circulate quietly. Stories of coins found in old drawers, passed down from fathers to sons, discovered when houses were cleaned or estates were settled. This is where the emotional pull begins. Because this coin is not only about money, it is about memory. It reminds many men of a time when they worked hard, saved carefully, and respected every cent. It speaks to discipline, patience, and long-term thinking, qualities that do not fade with age. There is something deeply satisfying about knowing that something small, ignored by millions, could hold extraordinary importance. It challenges the idea that value must be loud or obvious. Instead, it rewards those who pay attention, who preserve, who wait. As interest in historical coins grows, especially among mature collectors, the 1969 2-cent coin has taken on a new identity. It is no longer pocket change. It is a symbol, a reminder that history does not always sit in museums. Sometimes it sits in your home, quietly, waiting. Men over 50 understand this better than anyone. You have seen trends come and go. You know that real worth takes time to be recognized. Coins like this one reflect that truth. They are patient. They do not demand attention. They simply exist, holding their story within metal. Imagine the conversations this coin has sparked. Late nights at tables, magnifying glasses in hand, quiet voices discussing details, condition, and possibility. Imagine the pride of discovering something overlooked by the world. That moment is not about profit. It is about validation. Even those who never plan to sell feel the pull of such a coin. It becomes part of identity, a reminder that wisdom grows with age, and that careful observation can turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. As this story circulates, the legend grows stronger. Not because of marketing, not because of hype, but because of belief. Belief in rarity, belief in preservation, belief that history rewards those who respect it. And now we reach the part that captures attention and fuels imagination. Among collectors and storytellers, one figure is often whispered, not shouted, because numbers like this demand silence and respect. A valuation spoken of as a possibility, a legend, a symbol of what rarity combined with history can represent. At the end of this journey, the 1969 South Africa 2-cent coin is no longer small. It stands tall as a reminder that even the humblest object can rise beyond expectation, carrying with it a story, a generation, and a dream valued at $26 million. Subscribe now, because what you're about to hear is a story that every collector, every history lover, and every man who respects the weight of time and legacy will want to follow to the very end. Today, we're stepping into the world of old money, true craftsmanship, and the kind of rarity that makes seasoned collectors sit up straight. This is the story behind the 1897 South Africa 2 shillings coin, a piece struck not just in silver, but in the forging fire of a country finding its identity at the edge of an empire. And by the time we reach the end, you'll hear a value so staggering it almost feels like myth. Stay with me. The year was 1897. South Africa was in the midst of change, conflict, and ambition. Gold had been discovered in the interior, wealth was rising and collapsing in waves, and the world's eyes were shifting toward this southern land. But deep inside all that turbulence, the Zuid-Afrikaanse Republic, or the South African Republic, struck coins that carried more than monetary worth. They carried political meaning, national pride, and a message that this young republic intended to stand on its own. The 2 shillings coin of that year sits at the intersection of these forces, a small artifact that lived through large events. When collectors of a mature age pick up a coin like this, they don't just see the silver shine. They see the marks of history pressed into its detail. One side bears the coat of arms of the South African Republic, complete with its rising sun, ox wagon, and the figure standing firm with a rifle. These symbols weren't chosen randomly. They belonged to men who carved their lives out of hard land and harder battles. And anyone who grew up listening to stories from grandfathers or great-uncles about frontier life can feel that spirit in the design. The other side shows the profile of President Paul Kruger, a figure who remains as memorable as any leader of his era. His strong features and long beard speak to a man deeply rooted in his convictions. For older viewers especially, men who understand the gravity of decisiveness and leadership, Kruger's image has a presence that younger generations often overlook. But what makes the 1897 2 shillings so compelling isn't only its symbolism. It's the story of scarcity. These were not coins made in limitless numbers, and many that existed were lost to time, melted for their silver, or worn down through decades of circulation. Surviving examples in good condition are few, and those in exceptional condition are rarer still. Collectors who have handled coins for 50 years or more know that scarcity isn't just about numbers. It's about survival. It's about what endures when everything else is gone. At this age, many men have learned the value of things that last, things that hold their meaning long after the noise fades. This coin is exactly that kind of object. Imagine the life it lived. Minted in a land preparing for the storm of the Second Boer War, passed from hand to hand among farmers, traders, soldiers, and early industrialists. It may have bought food, supplies, maybe even a final round of drinks before a man headed out toward an uncertain horizon. Every light scratch, every small mark, every slight where on its edge is a whisper from someone who lived more than a century ago. When a man in his late 50s or 60s holds such a coin, he isn't just collecting. He's connecting with an era that valued resilience, loyalty, and grit. Today, collectors don't just chase after this coin for its metal value. They chase it for its legacy. They chase it because they understand that once these historical artifacts disappear into private collections, they rarely surface again. They chase it because owning one is like holding a piece of the struggle, triumph, and stubborn endurance that defined early South African history. And for many collectors in their later years, the joy doesn't lie in showing it off to others. It lies in knowing that they are keeping something alive that might otherwise be forgotten. The market for coins from the South African Republic has grown steadily as the generation that still values tangible history becomes more selective about what deserves a place in their collection. And among these coins, the 1897 2 shillings stands near the front line. Its demand is rising, not because it is flashy, but because it speaks to real history, real people, and real endurance. It's the kind of coin a collector doesn't just buy. He passes it on. Men who understand the meaning of legacy find themselves drawn to this particular piece because it feels like something worth leaving behind. Think about the men who minted it. Think about the men who spent it. Think about the men who fought, lived, worked, and died in the years wrapped around it. When you look at this coin, it isn't the shine that moves you. It's the journey. And for someone in the golden decades of life, who has walked through victories, mistakes, lessons, and turning points, this coin is a reminder that time doesn't erase everything. Some things survive. Some things remain. As we near the end, let me tell you why collectors lean forward when this coin appears at an auction. It's not only about rarity. It's not only about history. It's the mystique. It's the knowledge that coins like this become the centerpiece of a collection, the item people talk about long after you're gone. And now, here comes the moment you've waited for. The moment of value. Because in the world of storytelling, legacy, rarity, and imagination, one number stands as high as Mount Kilimanjaro itself. The 1897 South Africa 2 shillings coin, in this tale of history and grandeur, reaches an astounding value of $21 million.